Have you ever felt like something was guiding your life behind the scenes? Not in a mystical, far-off way, but right here beneath the surface of your awareness. As if reality itself wasn't reacting to what you did, but to who you were being. It's not your actions, it's not even your thoughts. It's your energetic signature. The signal your subconscious is always broadcasting. And what if I told you that the entire quantum field, every particle, every potential, every version of your future, is actually listening to that signal? You're not just a body walking through space. You're a vibrational transmitter. A walking field of consciousness that interacts with something so vast, so intelligent, that it can collapse infinite possibilities into one outcome, simply because you existed in a certain state. And here's where it gets even stranger. This isn't just spiritual philosophy, it's backed by quantum mechanics. You see, scientists discovered something called the observer effect. When an observer watches a particle, it behaves differently. It changes. That means reality doesn't actually become real until it's observed, until consciousness interacts with it. So what does that say about you? You're not just living in the world, you're shaping it. Constantly, subtly, powerfully, but, and this is where most people get it wrong, it's not your conscious thoughts that do the heavy lifting. It's not just affirmations, vision boards, or surface-level intentions. The truth is, your subconscious mind is the one commanding the quantum field, not with words but with resonance, emotion, belief, vibration. If you've ever felt like you were doing everything right but still couldn't manifest what you wanted, this is why. You were saying yes with your mouth, but no with your energy. Let that sink in for a moment, because it means your outer world is a mirror, not of your goals, not of your hustle, but of your most dominant subconscious frequency. So what is this quantum field you keep hearing about? Think of it as an invisible sea of possibility. Every version of your life, every path, every outcome, already exists in this field as a potential. Like waves on an ocean, each possibility just floats there, waiting. And it remains a wave of probability until one thing happens: observation, awareness, conscious interaction. In that moment, the wave collapses into a particle, into form, into your experienced reality. But it's not just your physical eyes that observe, your vibration does too. And that's where your subconscious mind comes in, because it's constantly observing reality through the lens of your beliefs, your expectations, your deeply held emotional patterns, and those patterns become the script that the quantum field follows. Think of your subconscious like a tuning fork. If it's vibrating with lack, it tunes your life to scarcity. If it's resonating with fear, it attracts experiences that match that fear. But when it's aligned with abundance, love, and certainty, something magical happens. The field doesn't just respond, it conforms. So here's the real question. What's your subconscious really saying? Most of your programming was formed between the ages of 0 and 7. In that time, your brain existed primarily in what's called the theta state. It's the same state used in hypnosis. And during those years, everything you heard, saw, and felt was absorbed unfiltered. No logic, no resistance, just raw emotional data etched into your operating system. If you were told money is hard to come by, that's your truth. If you felt unloved or abandoned, that frequency still pulses beneath your conscious desires. And the field? It listens to that. Not the mask you wear, not the goals you write in your journal, but the silent, emotional blueprint you inherited without even knowing. But here's the miracle. Nothing is permanent. Your subconscious isn't a prison. It's a portal. And the moment you become aware of the program you're running, you gain the power to rewrite it. That's when the quantum field starts responding in new ways. Because the signal you're sending has changed, and the field never argues, it simply echoes. You've been trained to believe that effort equals results, that manifestation is about pushing harder, doing more, staying busy. But in reality, the field doesn't respond to your effort, it responds to your coherence. When your thoughts, emotions, and energy are all aligned, you become a magnet, not because you're forcing life to bend, but because you've become the version of yourself who naturally experiences what you desire. Coherence is the key. It's not about what you want, it's about what you're in harmony with. If your conscious mind says, I want love, but your subconscious is vibrating with abandonment, the field will always default to the stronger, deeper frequency. And you already know this. You've felt it. That time you walked into a room and immediately sensed tension, before a word was said. That feeling when someone says, I'm fine, but you just know they're not. That's frequency. That's coherence, or the lack of it. We're reading it constantly because we're always broadcasting it. You're not fooling the universe, you're not fooling the field. You're only ever meeting a mirror. So how do you shift? How do you reprogram a subconscious that was wired before you even knew what programming was? It starts with awareness, not just of your thoughts, but of your emotions. Because emotions are the language of the subconscious. You can't think your way into a new reality, you have to feel your way there. When you close your eyes and visualize your dream life, it's not the image that creates the change, it's the emotion it evokes. That's the fuel, that's the frequency. Your subconscious doesn't speak English, it speaks vibration. So if you're affirming, I am wealthy, but emotionally resonating with fear and unworthiness, your command gets scrambled. But if you breathe deeply, feel gratitude and embody the energy of already having what you want, now the message is clear. And the field, it listens, not tomorrow, not next year, it listens now. Your emotions are not background noise, they're commands. The more coherent and emotionally charged those commands are, the faster the field rearranges itself to reflect them. Think about that. Every time you feel grateful, safe, and open, even if the external world hasn't changed yet, you're actually reprogramming your reality. You're broadcasting a new frequency, and the field must respond. You've probably heard the phrase, fake it till you make it, but this isn't about pretending. This is about embodying, becoming. If you want to manifest wealth, you must become the version of you who already feels wealthy. Not because of what's in the bank, but because of who you are inside. If you want to attract love, you don't chase it, you radiate it. You emit the vibration of someone who knows they are lovable, someone who lives in the frequency of connection. And the field responds, not with pity, not with delay, but with precision. That's the truth no one teaches you. The field isn't random, it's exact. It doesn't give you what you beg for, it gives you what you believe you are. So if deep inside your belief is I'm not good enough, the field says yes. If your belief is I always struggle, the field echoes it back. But if your energy shifts to I am aligned with abundance, if your body vibrates with that certainty, everything begins to reorganize around that new signal. You've been trained to think of reality as solid, fixed, concrete. But quantum physics shattered that illusion a long time ago. Reality isn't a structure, it's a cloud of possibilities. And your subconscious, your inner world, is what pulls one of those clouds into form. You're not reacting to life. You're constantly selecting from an infinite menu. Most people just don't know they're holding the pen, but now you do. So let's go even deeper. Let's talk about how your subconscious became what it is. Between the ages of 0 and 7, your brain was wide open. It was like fertile soil. Everything planted during those years, every word, every experience, every feeling became the roots of your identity. And during that time, your brain was in a theta state. It's the same brainwave state that hypnotists use to bypass the critical mind and speak directly to the subconscious. That means you didn't learn your beliefs, you absorbed them. You didn't choose them, you inherited them. If your parents lived in fear, that fear became part of your wiring. If love felt unstable, chaotic, or conditional, that became your blueprint for relationships. And those blueprints, though invisible, are incredibly powerful. Because they don't just sit in your mind, they shape the world you attract. But here's the miracle. Your brain can still access theta. In fact, it does it every day, right before you fall asleep and right as you wake up. Those twilight moments, where you're neither fully conscious nor completely asleep, are golden portals. That's when the subconscious is most receptive. That's when you can whisper new truths into your inner world. That's when you can plant new roots. So, what are you feeding your subconscious during those sacred moments? Fearful scrolling, doubtful thoughts, or powerful imagery of the life you want to live? Because whatever you're rehearsing emotionally during those windows becomes your new program, and your program becomes your perception, and your perception, believe it or not, becomes your projection. That's why two people can walk into the same situation and experience completely different realities. It's not the event, it's the lens. One person sees opportunity, another sees danger. One person sees love, another sees rejection. Same moment, different signal, different quantum collapse. Your reality isn't what's happening, it's how your energy is interacting with the field. It's how your vibration interprets the wave. And this is where ancient wisdom and modern science begin to say the same thing. The Vedas spoke of Maya, the illusion, a world that seems solid but is actually malleable. The Egyptian mystery schools taught that the universe is mental, shaped by will and imagination, and now quantum mechanics reveals that everything is energy, everything is vibration, everything is probability, until you show up. You don't need to control the world, you only need to master the signal you're sending. That's where your real power lives. And this is where emotional coherence becomes the most sacred practice you can ever develop. Because your thoughts may ask for one thing, but if your emotions are canceling that request, the field gets confused. You can't say yes and no at the same time and expect alignment. So how do you generate emotional coherence? You breathe, you visualize, you feel, you surrender. You stop chasing and you start broadcasting. You start showing up in your body as if the thing you desire is already here. Not as a lie, not as fantasy, but as practice. Because the field doesn't know the difference between a memory, a dream, or a current experience. It only knows vibration. It only knows what your heart is truly radiating. You're not begging the universe. You're informing it. And when your subconscious is aligned with your desires, the field doesn't hesitate. It delivers. Because now you are a match. Think of the quantum field like a mirror made of light. It doesn't judge. It doesn't correct. It doesn't filter. It reflects. Not what you wish for, but what you are. If you want to see something different in the mirror, you don't beg the reflection to change. You change the expression, you change the posture, you change the energy behind the eyes, and suddenly the reflection shifts. That's manifestation. That's quantum creation. Not magic, not mystery, alignment. And this is your birthright. You are not broken, you are not behind, you're just broadcasting an old frequency. One you didn't choose, but one you can now transform, not by fixing anything, but by becoming conscious of your subconscious. Because when you change the signal, the reality must follow. It has no choice. You're not waiting for reality to catch up, reality is waiting for you to tune in. And the moment you do, it responds, not with hesitation, not with resistance, but with precision and speed. Because the quantum field doesn't need time, it needs clarity. It needs emotional resonance. It needs you to mean it without doubting it, to believe it without needing to see it first. Think about the last time you felt deeply aligned, even for a second. Maybe you were out in nature and everything felt perfect. Maybe you were laughing with someone you loved. Maybe you had a moment of peace after a long storm. In that instant, you weren't begging for anything. You weren't desperate. You were whole. You were coherent. And in that state, reality felt lighter, more fluid, more supportive. That's not coincidence. That's your natural state. That's the version of you the field is always trying to mirror back. But here's the trap. Most people try to change their outer world first. They try to hustle their way into a new life. They chase money, love, recognition, hoping those things will create the inner peace they crave. But it never works, because the signal hasn't changed. The vibration is still one of lack, one of need, one of unworthiness, and no matter how hard you work, the field doesn't give you what you ask for, it gives you what you are. So the shift must start inside, not in theory but in practice, in repetition, in energy. And that's where the magic begins. Close your eyes, breathe deeply. Feel your body where you are right now, not where you wish you were, not where you think you should be, but here, fully present. That presence right now is your point of power. It's the place where time dissolves and all versions of you become accessible. The you who is healed, the you who is abundant, the you who is fearless. They all exist in the quantum field, right now. Not in the future, not after you earn it, but here, awaiting your alignment. You don't need to chase that version, you need to merge with it. And how do you do that? You begin to feel like that version feels. You breathe like that version breathes. You walk, speak, move, and make decisions from the energy of that version, not pretending, embodying. Because the field doesn't respond to fantasies, it responds to frequencies. And every time you return to the emotional state of your future self, you're pulling that future into the present. You don't need evidence, you don't need permission, you need embodiment. Because when your subconscious begins to experience a new emotion consistently, it starts to believe it. And when belief locks in, your nervous system adapts, your perception shifts, your body starts behaving as if the thing you once desired is already yours, and now your environment must follow suit. It has no choice. The field bends to your vibration. But here's what no one tells you. That shift doesn't always feel magical at first. Sometimes it feels like letting go, like discomfort, like loss. Because to step into a new frequency, you have to release the one you've been carrying. And for many, that frequency has become part of their identity. The struggle, the fear, the story of not being enough. It's familiar, it's safe, but it's also the very thing keeping the old timeline alive. So the question becomes, are you willing to let go of who you've been in order to become who you really are? Because the quantum field won't judge your answer, it will just reflect it. Let go of the need to prove yourself. Let go of the pressure to be perfect. Let go of the story that says you're not ready. You are. You always have been. And the field has been waiting, patiently, for you to remember that. You don't need to fight for your desires, you need to feel them. Not just mentally, but energetically. You need to fall in love with the version of you who already lives the life you want. And then you need to show up as them, over and over, until it's no longer a performance. It's your truth. And when it becomes your truth, reality has to rearrange. Everything in this universe is vibration. Everything. Your thoughts, your emotions, your beliefs, they all emit frequency. And when those frequencies sync up, they form a coherent signal. A signal the quantum field reads like a command, not a request. A command. Not because you forced it, but because you became it. That's the essence of manifestation. Not effort. Alignment. It's the same principle that governs radio waves. If you want to hear a certain station, you don't demand the radio to play it. You don't scream at the dial. You tune to the right frequency, and the music comes through effortlessly, not because you earned it, but because you matched it. Your life works the same way. If you want to experience a reality of peace, you tune to peace. If you want to live in love, you become love. If you desire freedom, you embody freedom. Not later, not when conditions are right, but now, because the frequency doesn't wait. It's already available. The only variable is you. And this is why techniques like visualization, breath work, and brainwave entrainment are so powerful. Not because they cause results, but because they shift your subconscious state. They help you feel differently, think differently, and most importantly, vibrate differently. They're not magic spells. They're tools to access a new version of you, a version that already exists, a version the field already recognizes. And when you spend time there, when you rehearse that version emotionally, you begin to override the old program, the program that told you it was impossible, the one that whispered not yet, the one that kept you small. That version dissolves, and the field stops responding to it. That's when doors open, that's when synchronicities appear. That's when people, places, and opportunities begin showing up in perfect harmony, not because you chased them, but because you finally aligned with the version of you who never had to chase. The field responds to your being, not your begging, and your being is sculpted by the signals you send in every breath, every thought, every emotion, every belief. So the real work isn't outside of you, it never was. The real work is vibration. Your vibration is the architect of your life. It's designing your experiences in real time, whether you're aware of it or not. Every word you speak, every emotion you feel, every thought you allow to repeat, those are not just passive experiences. They are energetic signatures written into the field. And the field obeys without resistance. It doesn't filter your commands based on whether they're empowering or limiting. It simply mirrors. So if you're constantly saying things like, "I can't afford that," or "people like me don't get opportunities like that," you're instructing the field to keep you in that timeline, not out of cruelty, out of precision. You get what you resonate with. That's why awareness is everything. You can't shift what you're not conscious of. But once you notice your patterns, once you become the observer of your own programming, you take back the pen. You stop unconsciously recreating the past and you start consciously selecting your future. And that's not just possible, that's your design. You were never meant to live on autopilot. You were built to create, not just art, not just ideas, but entire realities. And you do it all the time, whether you realize it or not. The key is becoming intentional about it. The key is stepping into that creator role on purpose. Because once you do, the quantum field responds with breathtaking speed. And you'll notice it in the small things first. A stranger says the exact words you needed to hear. A long-lost opportunity suddenly resurfaces. You think of someone, and they call you. These aren't coincidences. They're reflections. Echoes of your new vibration beginning to ripple out into physical form. That's the beauty of working with the field instead of against it. You don't have to force anything. You don't have to convince anyone. You simply become the version of you that matches the life you desire, and the field aligns accordingly, effortlessly, accurately, intelligently. But that alignment isn't found in the mind alone. It's felt in the body. That's why emotional resonance is so important. If you can't feel it, you can't transmit it, and if you can't transmit it, the field can't respond. So the question is, what emotions are you practicing every day? Are you rehearsing gratitude, joy, expansion, or are you recycling frustration, anxiety, and fear? Your emotions are not reactions to reality. They are indicators of the vibration you're holding. And the more you tune yourself emotionally, the more you refine the signal. That's when manifestation stops being a technique and becomes a way of being, a natural extension of your coherence. This is where the ancient traditions knew something modern life often forgets. The breath is the bridge. It's the sacred gateway between the conscious and the subconscious, between the seen and the unseen. And when you breathe with awareness, when you breathe with intention, you begin to rewire the way your energy moves. You bring your nervous system into harmony. You calm the mind, and you drop into the heart. The heart, that's where the real signal is sent. Science has shown that the heart emits a magnetic field far more powerful than the brain. And when your heart and mind are in alignment, when they are coherent, your energy becomes sharp, potent, laser-like. That's when your desires don't just drift in the quantum sea, they crystallize, they take shape, they become physical. And they do so without resistance, because your inner world no longer contradicts itself. You're not trying to manifest abundance while feeling unworthy. You're not seeking love while fearing rejection. You're not chasing peace while swimming in chaos. You've resolved the contradiction. You've become the signal. And the field, like the perfect mirror it is, reflects back everything that matches. This is why embodiment is more than a buzzword. It's a spiritual technology. You can't think your way into a new reality. You have to live your way into it. That means feeling the emotions of your desired life before the evidence appears. That means behaving like the version of you who already has what you seek. Not because you're delusional, because you understand the mechanics of creation. You're not faking it, you're activating it. And when you do, you shift timelines, not metaphorically, literally. The quantum field holds infinite versions of your life. Every choice you could make, every outcome that could unfold. They all exist simultaneously as waves of possibility. And when your energy changes, you collapse a new set of those waves into particles, into experiences. into what you call reality. You've done it before, even if you didn't realize it. That time you suddenly had a breakthrough after months of struggle, that moment when your life seemed to turn on a dime, that experience that felt too aligned to be random. Those were quantum shifts. You didn't create them by force. You entered them through frequency, and you can do it again. Not once, not sporadically, but consistently. The process is simple. Breathe with presence. Feel as if it's already done. Speak what you wish to become. Move in alignment with your desired self. And when doubt arises, and it will, greet it with compassion. Then return to your signal. Because doubt only has power when you believe the illusion is more real than the vibration. But it's not. The vibration is the cause. The reality is the effect. This is the reversal that changes everything. You don't wait for evidence to believe. You believe to create evidence. You don't let the outer world define your inner state. You let your inner state define what the outer world becomes. And in doing so, you exit the loop, the cycle of trying, forcing, wishing. You enter a new rhythm, one of trust, alignment, and resonance. And the field begins to work with you, not as a reward, but as a reflection of your coherence. You are not separate from this field. You are a node within it, an extension of it, a conscious wave in the great quantum ocean. And your emotions, your beliefs, your identity, they send ripples through this field that touch everything. So the next time you think a thought, ask yourself, is this a command I want mirrored back? The next time you speak a word, ask, does this align with the version of me I'm stepping into? The next time you feel a feeling, ask, is this the frequency of the life I desire? Because every moment is an energetic imprint. Every breath is a signal. Every choice is a vote for the timeline you wish to occupy. And the field is always listening. The moment you realize the quantum field is listening to your subconscious more than your words, everything changes. You begin to care less about appearances and more about coherence. You stop trying to convince others of who you are, and instead you begin to embody it so deeply that the world has no choice but to respond in kind. This is the shift from surface manifestation to soul manifestation, from mental effort to energetic alignment. It's the reason some people work tirelessly and never seem to move forward, while others glide into abundance, synchronicities, and opportunities with what appears to be ease. The difference isn't luck, it's frequency. It's the internal state they're holding even when no one's watching, especially when no one's watching. Because the field doesn't respond to how well you perform in public, it responds to how true you are in private. Your life is always being sculpted from within. The world around you is just the clay. Your subconscious is the artist's hand, and your vibration, that's the touch that shapes it all. So what kind of sculpture are you creating? Are you building a masterpiece unconsciously based on outdated patterns? Or are you stepping into the role of conscious creator, molding a life that reflects your awakened state? It starts by tuning in. Not to what's happening outside of you, but to the subtle frequencies within. The ones that speak in sensations, in gut feelings, in instinct and emotion. Your body is always speaking. It's always transmitting. And when you slow down enough to listen, you'll find that it knows exactly what vibration you're living in, even if your mind is still trying to pretend otherwise. You might say you believe in abundance, but if your stomach tightens every time you look at your bank account, your true vibration is lack. You might say you want love, but if your heart clenches at the thought of vulnerability, your signal says fear. This isn't judgment, this is liberation. Because when you can admit what you're actually resonating with, you finally have the power to change it. And change begins in the nervous system. It begins in the breath. It begins in the energy you hold in the silent moments when no one else is around. That's where your future is being built. Every inhale is an invitation to reset the signal. Every exhale is a chance to release the frequency that no longer serves you. And with each breath you return to presence. And presence is the gateway to all timelines. There is no creation without presence. Because the future you seek doesn't live in some distant tomorrow. It's right here, waiting to be accessed. And it's accessed not through force, but through feeling. You want to shift your reality? Don't wait for proof, become the proof. Become the walking, breathing evidence that a new world is possible. Let your energy go first, let your joy go first, let your peace, your confidence, your clarity arrive before the circumstances do. Because that's the paradox of the field. It doesn't give you what you're waiting for, it gives you what you're being. So what are you being right now? Are you being trust, or are you being hesitation? Are you being expansion, or are you shrinking to fit an outdated identity? You are not here to dim your light just because the world forgot how to see. You are not here to replay old scripts that were written by fear, passed down by generations who never learned how to speak the language of energy. You are here to remember. You are here to activate. You are here to transmit a frequency so true, so magnetic, that the universe bends to meet it. That's what happens when you stop reacting and start radiating. You become a new center of gravity, the kind that doesn't chase but attracts, the kind that doesn't beg but invites, the kind that doesn't wait for permission but emits such certainty that the field must deliver in accordance with your state. That's not arrogance, that's alignment. And alignment doesn't mean you're always happy. It doesn't mean you never feel fear. It means you no longer identify with the lower frequency. You feel it, you breathe through it, you honor it, and then you return again and again to your truth. That truth being you are the signal, not the static. Even when the old thoughts arise, even when the doubts creep in, you don't have to fight them. Fighting keeps them active. Observing dissolves them. You're not here to battle with your subconscious. You're here to rewire it through repetition, through feeling, through energetic consistency. And repetition doesn't have to be rigid. It can be graceful. It can be ritual. Every morning you wake up and align your breath with your desired self. Every time you look in the mirror and affirm a new identity with conviction. Every moment you interrupt an old pattern with presence. That's reprogramming. That's shifting timelines. One signal at a time. You are not stuck. You are not broken. You're simply attuned to a frequency that no longer matches who you're becoming. And that's good news, because frequency is fluid. It can be raised. It can be softened. It can be refined. You are the instrument, and you are the player. So play something beautiful. Play something true. Play the frequency of your highest self before the world gives you a reason to. And when you do, the world will respond in ways that defy logic, that bypass time, that open portals where there once were walls. Because you are not asking the universe for favors, you are commanding reality through coherence. You are not waiting for the field to catch up. The field is waiting for your vibration to become undeniable, and when it is, it will deliver. Not because you hoped, because you became. You became the version of yourself who no longer needed to wait. You stopped wishing and started embodying. You didn't hope for proof, you became the evidence. And that's the moment everything began to shift. Because the quantum field doesn't respond to desperation, it responds to embodiment. It doesn't deliver based on what you think you deserve, it mirrors what you've already claimed with your energy. Your entire life has been a response, a reflection, not of your outer actions alone, but of your inner alignment. You may not have known it. You may have felt like things were happening to you, but the truth is every moment has been an answer to a question you were unconsciously asking, a mirror to a vibration you were broadcasting without saying a single word. This is why changing your life starts with becoming radically honest about what you're actually sending out. Not what you want people to believe, not what you post online, but what you feel in the quiet, what you believe when no one's watching. That's the real signal. That's the truth the field reads. And once you become aware of it, you're free. Because awareness is the doorway to change. When you can see the pattern, you can break it. When you can feel the old emotion as it rises, you can breathe through it instead of reacting to it. That one pause, just one breath of presence, interrupts the loop, and in that space something new can be born. A new thought, a new feeling, a new command. And every time you choose presence over programming, you reclaim your power, This is not about denying your human experience, it's about reclaiming your role as its creator. It's about feeling what arises, honoring it fully, and then choosing deliberately where you want to vibrate next. Because nothing you feel is wrong, but everything you feel is a message. Anxiety is a message, resistance is a message, longing is a message, all of it pointing to where your energy is and showing you where your next shift can begin. And when you stop seeing your emotions as problems to fix and start seeing them as indicators to tune, you enter mastery. You start living not by default, but by design. You begin to ask different questions. Instead of asking why something hasn't shown up yet, you ask what part of you still believes it can't. Instead of blaming the world for what it reflects, you look inward and shift the lens that's shaping your perception. Because reality is never happening outside of you, it's unfolding through you, and it always begins within. When you understand this, even the most painful moments become purposeful, even the delays hold wisdom, because the field isn't punishing you, it's responding to the vibration you're holding most consistently. And sometimes, when something hasn't manifested yet, it's not because it's not meant for you. It's because your energy is still preparing to hold it, to carry it, to sustain it. You don't want a temporary breakthrough, you want transformation that lasts. And lasting transformation doesn't come from momentary excitement. It comes from deep energetic reprogramming, from practicing the vibration of your future self long enough that it becomes your new normal, not your high, your baseline. That's how reality begins to bend. Not through willpower, through identity. When you stop trying to get there and realize you already are there, internally, energetically, emotionally, the quantum field starts to reveal what's always been available to you. You realize that manifestation isn't something you do, it's who you are, when you stop pretending to be less than your potential. You are not here to try to believe, you are here to know. To remember, to feel that truth in your bones so deeply that nothing outside of you can shake it. Because when your internal frequency becomes unshakable, your external reality becomes inevitable. You are here to shift timelines, to walk through this life as a living example of what happens when someone decides to become their highest vibration, without waiting for the world to catch up. And when you do that, something miraculous unfolds. The world does catch up, not through force, but through resonance. People will treat you differently, opportunities will appear, the impossible will start to feel obvious. And it won't be because the world changed, it will be because you did. You stopped broadcasting confusion, you stopped radiating lack, you stopped doubting your own signal, and you chose, over and over, to hold the vibration of your destiny before it made any sense. That's faith. Not blind belief, but energetic clarity, the knowing that the field can't help but deliver to you what you have already become. And the more you trust that process, the faster it flows, not because you're forcing it, but because you're no longer blocking it. You are no longer leaking your energy through fear or scattering your focus through doubt. You are clear. You are aligned. You are coherent, and coherence is magnetic. Coherence is powerful. Coherence is the language the quantum field has been waiting for you to speak. And once you speak it fluently, once it becomes your native energetic tongue, everything changes. You no longer need to beg. You no longer need to chase. You no longer need to seek validation, because now your inner world is whole. It is clear. It is tuned. And when you are tuned, reality must respond. Not someday, now, because now is all there ever was. You're not here to wait for the future, you're here to collapse it into this moment, to become the timeline you've been looking for, to embody the vibration you once thought you had to earn. There is nothing you need to earn. You were always worthy, you were always powerful, you were always connected to the field. You've just been broadcasting someone else's story. Someone else's limit, someone else's frequency. But not anymore. Now you remember. Now you choose. Now you vibrate in full awareness of who you are, and the field listens. The field listens to you not with ears but with energy. not with language but with feeling, not with reason but with rhythm. Every moment you exist, you're speaking to the fabric of reality with the frequency you carry. And the conversation never stops. Whether you're awake or asleep, certain or doubtful, calm or chaotic, the signal is still being broadcast. And that signal is shaping what appears before you. You've always been in a dance with the universe, but now you're starting to hear the music. Now you're beginning to move with intention instead of reaction, and in that shift, in that stillness between your thoughts, you've found the space where creation begins. The space where your subconscious hands the blueprint to the quantum field, not based on what you hope is true, but based on what you feel is inevitable. This is why self-concept is everything. You don't get what you want, you get what you are, you get what you expect, you get what you've emotionally rehearsed again and again until it becomes your default state of being. That's not a punishment, it's a gift, because it means you're never truly stuck. You're just vibrating at the level of your old identity. And the moment you let that identity go, the entire mirror of your life begins to change. And letting go doesn't mean abandoning everything you know. It means releasing what no longer resonates with the future you're stepping into. The stories that say you're not ready, the patterns that keep you circling the same outcomes, the beliefs that were handed to you by others who never knew how powerful they were. You don't have to hate those stories. You just don't have to keep repeating them. You can thank them for their role in your growth and then choose something new. Because that's what the quantum field is offering you every moment. Choice. It's not locked in. It's not frozen. It's fluid, dynamic, responsive. And when your vibration rises, the entire menu of possibilities expands. You begin to notice things you couldn't see before. Not because they weren't there, but because you weren't yet a match. You were tuning into a different station, one that played the same old songs over and over. But now you've changed the frequency. Now you're hearing a different melody. Now life is revealing itself in ways you couldn't plan. Because when you release control, when you trust your alignment more than your timeline, you make room for miracles. You allow the field to show you what you couldn't imagine with your limited mind, but what your infinite self has always known. And the more you let go of needing to know how, the faster the how finds you. Because it's never been about how, it's always been about who. Who you're being, who you're becoming, who you decide to embody even when the external world gives you no reason to believe. That is your power. That is your declaration. That is your access code to the quantum field. And once you embody that truth, it stops being about trying, it becomes about allowing. You stop pushing for change and begin receiving transformation. You stop forcing outcomes and start magnetizing experiences that align perfectly with your new energetic signature. And you don't have to explain it to anyone. You don't have to justify your shift. Your frequency speaks louder than your words ever could. People will feel it. Doors will open, resistance will dissolve, and you'll realize it was never about getting anything. It was about removing the interference between you and what was always meant for you. And the interference was never out there. It was the outdated programs running inside of you. Programs that no longer belong in the version of reality you're choosing now. This is why healing matters. Not just emotional release, but vibrational realignment. Healing isn't about fixing what's broken. It's about returning to coherence, returning to truth, returning to the signal that was buried beneath years of fear, conditioning and self-doubt. And that signal? It's still alive, it's still broadcasting, waiting for you to raise the volume. So how do you raise the volume? You choose presence. You breathe deeply and feel fully. You stop rushing to the next thing and start honoring the now. Because the now is sacred. The now is powerful. The now is where the field hears you most clearly. Not when you're perfect, not when you've figured everything out, but when you are honest, when you are still, when you are willing to feel what you've avoided and love the parts of yourself you were taught to deny. You don't heal by escaping, you heal by embracing. You transmute the frequency not by bypassing the pain, but by allowing light to enter it, by bringing awareness where there was once only reaction, And every time you do that, you become more coherent, more aligned, more magnetic. You start to see your thoughts as currents, your feelings as frequencies, your beliefs as codes. And in that realization, you become a conscious programmer of the quantum computer that is your reality. You begin to write a new script, one built not on survival but on expansion, not on fear but on faith, not on limitation but on the infinite intelligence that flows through you. And when you live from that place, something shifts in the atmosphere around you. It's subtle at first. A sense of ease where there used to be resistance, a clarity where there was confusion, a knowing that everything is already in motion, not because you can see it, but because you can feel it. That feeling is your compass. That resonance is your confirmation. You don't need signs when you have coherence. You don't need proof when your cells are vibrating with certainty. You don't need to wait when you've already become the version of you who lives the life you used to only imagine. Because that version is not in the distance. It's not hidden in some future. It's here. It's in you. And every time you breathe with intention, speak with power, and feel with clarity, you're pulling that version into form. You're collapsing the timeline. You're commanding the field not with force but with frequency. And the field, faithful as ever, responds. It responds because it has no other option. The quantum field doesn't argue. It doesn't doubt. It doesn't delay out of punishment or preference. It follows vibration. It mirrors coherence. And once your inner world becomes clear, the outer world begins to reconfigure with astonishing speed. You'll start to witness the flow. Where things once felt blocked, you'll feel a new momentum rising without pushing, without striving. And that's when you'll know it's working. Not because you're forcing it, because you're finally aligned with it. You'll realize that this field of potential has always been waiting, that the love, the abundance, the peace, it was never withheld. It was never behind some veil that only the worthy could access. It was here, all of it, all at once, held in infinite possibility. But until your energy matched it, it had no reason to collapse into form. You are the reason. You are the one who breathes life into the invisible. You are the one who selects from the field not by wishing but by feeling, not by begging but by believing. And belief doesn't begin in the mind, it begins in the body. It begins in the way your chest opens when you imagine something beautiful, in the way your heartbeat slows when you trust instead of fear, in the way your breath deepens when you surrender to what already wants to find you. That's the language of the field. That's the signature of alignment. And when you practice it, not once but daily, moment by moment, you become a living transmitter of your desired reality. You become a magnetic field of coherence, pulling in exactly what you've already created internally. And that's not a miracle. That's physics. That's resonance. That's truth. So ask yourself right now, what signal am I broadcasting? What am I rehearsing emotionally each day? Because if you're waking up and tuning into stress, if you're bathing in anxiety and repeating stories of struggle, you're reactivating the past. You're keeping your future shackled to a frequency that no longer serves you. And that's not your fault, it's your programming. But programming can be rewritten. Every time you choose presence over panic, every time you pause before reacting, every time you soften your body and breathe instead of breathe, you're changing the code. You're giving the field a new instruction, and it listens. Always. Because the field is impersonal. It doesn't favor those who work harder. It doesn't bend for those who try to manipulate it with rituals they don't feel. It responds to coherence, to integrity between your thoughts, your feelings, and your being. And that kind of integrity is rare. Not because it's hard, but because most people have forgotten who they are. They're trying to create from a self they've outgrown, from a version of themselves that was built in survival, shaped by trauma, molded by fear. But you're not here to survive anymore, you're here to create. And that creation begins with truth. The truth is, you are not your past, you are not your pain, you are not the frequency of those who misunderstood you. You are a field of energy, consciousness, and intention. And the moment you begin to vibrate from that place, life opens. Not because it was closed, but because you finally became the version of you who could walk through the door. And when you do, you'll notice how little effort it takes to shift things. You'll realize that the most powerful transformations don't come through force. They come through release, through letting go of who you thought you needed to be, through softening the grip on how it's supposed to happen, through stepping back and letting your new frequency take the lead. And yes, your ego will resist. It will scream that you're not ready, that it's not safe, that you're being irresponsible. But that voice isn't your truth. It's your old wiring. It's the echo of a version of you who thought control was the only way to stay safe. But now you know better. Now you remember that safety is a frequency too, one you can generate from within, one that doesn't require external validation. You can choose safety in your nervous system. You can feel supported without anything changing outside of you. Because support, like everything else, is vibrational. And as you begin to live from that knowing, you start to embody something rare. You become someone who doesn't just speak about change, you live it. You radiate it. You inspire it in others without even trying. Because your energy is so clear, so grounded, so aligned, that it speaks for itself. You don't need to convince anyone of your shift. You just need to keep broadcasting the new you with consistency, with devotion, with love. And the field will respond not in theory but in form. You'll watch old patterns dissolve. You'll see timelines collapse. You'll experience quantum leaps that make no sense to the rational mind and perfect sense to the soul. Because you're no longer living from probability, you're living from possibility. You're no longer reacting to the past. You're pulling from the future, and that future is rich, vibrant, abundant, alive. It's already here, already coded in the field, already waiting for your coherence. So stop asking when it's coming, start becoming the version of you who already has it. Feel what they feel, think how they think, walk how they walk, not because you're trying to fake it, but because you're tuning in. You're syncing up. You're remembering that time is not linear, that your future is just a frequency away. And when you live that frequency long enough, the field has no choice but to match it. That's not magic. That's alignment. That's not luck. That's vibration. That's not someday. That's now. You are not separate from the field. You are the field, localized in a body, moving through form, waking up to the truth that you've been the architect all along. And now that you know, the question is simple. What are you building with your energy? Because the field is listening, and it's ready to respond. It's responding right now, not later, not when you've earned it, not when you've done enough rituals or meditations or healed every wound. It responds in real time to the energy you're living in. So when you shift, everything around you begins to rearrange, subtly at first, then rapidly, then undeniably. You're not waiting for the world to change, the world is waiting for you to tune your signal. And your signal doesn't lie. It may be masked by words or distractions or even intentions, but the quantum field doesn't read any of that. It reads vibration. It reads coherence. It reads the emotional truth behind your smile. It feels the fear beneath your goals, and it responds to what's most dominant within you, not what you're trying to project on the surface. That's why you can't fake it. You can't trick the field. You can't pretend your way into alignment. But you can practice your way into it. You can rehearse the emotional state of your future until it becomes more familiar than your past. You can wire in the identity of the version of you who already lives in freedom, in flow, in abundance. You can choose it with your breath, with your thoughts, with your presence. Because your presence is the real portal. When you become fully here, not lost in old stories or future fears, but fully here, your power returns. You step out of time. You stop chasing and start creating. You begin to feel the quantum field as not something separate from you, but something alive within you, a living mirror, waiting for your clarity. Clarity is what collapses possibilities into reality. Clarity is what tells the field what to become. And clarity doesn't mean you have every step mapped out. It means your energy is not confused, your vibration isn't hesitating. Your state of being says one thing: this is who I am now. This is what I accept, this is what I allow. And once you're clear, the field gets clear too. That's when the right people find you. That's when opportunities show up without effort. That's when things that used to feel impossible become obvious, and you realize it was never about becoming someone else. It was about removing the noise, the doubt, the layers of programming that told you to stay small, stay safe, stay realistic. Those layers were never your truth, they were just a shield, a temporary strategy for surviving in a world that forgot how powerful you are. But you didn't forget, not fully. Something in you always knew, even when you were lost, even when you were stuck. Something deeper was whispering, there's more. There's more to you. There's more to this reality. There's more to what you came here to be. And that whisper? That's the signal of your higher self. That's the version of you who never disconnected from the field. That version isn't waiting. That version is already aligned, already clear, already living in the vibration that bends reality. And the only thing standing between you and that version is the story you're still telling, so let that story go. Let go of being the one who has to struggle to deserve it. Let go of being the one who's always almost there. Let go of the idea that life has to be earned, that joy has to be justified, that peace comes after the finish line. There is no finish line, there is only now. And now is the only place you can shift from. Now is the only moment the field responds to. So if you want to change your life, you don't wait. You breathe. You feel. You choose. You decide that this moment, regardless of what's showing up, is sacred. That this moment is where you reclaim your power. And the moment you do, the rules change. Suddenly, time bends. You feel new emotions without external cause. You experience glimpses of a timeline you thought was years away. Not because you pushed for it, but because you opened to it. You let your body become the vessel for a new frequency. You stopped arguing with your desires and started embodying them. And the field, precise as ever, meets you there. It always has, it always will. That's why you're not starting from scratch. You're starting from resonance. You're not creating something out of nothing. You're aligning with what already exists. You're collapsing timelines into form by being the one who no longer waits to feel the way they want to feel. You feel it now, you live it now, you anchor it now. And every time you do, the field sharpens its response. It begins to reflect back the depth of your signal with more accuracy, more speed, more elegance. Because now you're not scattered. Now you're not doubting. Now you're transmitting a frequency that's unified. Mind, heart, body and soul speaking the same language. That is the language the universe understands. That is the key that unlocks the seemingly impossible. That is the vibration that opens doors you didn't even know existed. And you don't need to know where the door leads. You just need to trust the frequency that opens it. You need to trust that your alignment is the intelligence that guides your path. That your emotional clarity is more powerful than any plan, that your inner world creates ripples through the field that rearrange what you call fate. Fate is flexible, destiny is dynamic, and the more you live in harmony with your true signal, the more that truth echoes through your reality in ways that feel like magic, but are really just physics obeying consciousness. You are the consciousness the field is obeying, you are the awareness giving shape to the unformed. You are the one writing the code with every breath, every belief, every choice, to align or to resist. So choose alignment, not because it guarantees the outcome, but because it guarantees the feeling. And that feeling, that inner coherence, is the greatest gift you can give yourself. Because it means you're no longer waiting for life to give you permission to feel whole. You feel it now, you choose it now, and the quantum field responds, because it always has. Because it always will, because it is you. And now, you remember. Now you remember that you were never separate from creation, that what you feel inside is not just a passing emotion but the very substance from which your world is formed, that every breath you take is an agreement with reality, a quiet but powerful contract with the field that says, this is who I am now, and this is what life will become in response. And you don't need to force that process. You don't need to hustle to earn your place. You simply return again and again to the frequency that feels like home, the frequency of peace, of certainty, of knowing. The version of you that doesn't chase, doesn't doubt, doesn't need the external to affirm the internal. The version of you who walks with quiet power because they know the field is already rearranging in perfect rhythm. You start to see that every moment is sacred, every interaction is feedback, every delay is precision, not a punishment, not a mistake, but a recalibration, matching you to what you're truly aligned with. And when you begin to trust that, you stop resisting the unfolding. You let go of control, not because you've given up, but because you finally understand how creation works. You finally realize that alignment is louder than effort. That's when your energy becomes undeniable. That's when people start asking what changed. That's when the invisible becomes visible, when ideas take shape, when dreams begin to crystallize out of nowhere, not because they came from nowhere, but because you finally made space for them in your field. And that space was never about doing more. It was about releasing more, releasing the grip, releasing the noise, releasing the parts of you that forgot how infinite you truly are. You don't need to become anything. You need to remember who you were before the doubt, before the trauma, before the conditioning. You need to return to the original vibration, the one that existed before you ever tried to earn your worth, the one that knew without question that you were connected, worthy, divine, because you still are. You've just been tuned into someone else's signal. You've been living from echoes that no longer serve the life you're meant to create. But that's changing. It already is. Right now, in this moment, your field is shifting. Your vibration is rising, not because you forced it, but because you said yes to truth, because something deep within you finally decided to stop performing and start transmitting, to stop seeking and start remembering. And in that remembrance you unlock the most powerful force in the universe, conscious creation. Not the kind that fights against the current, but the kind that becomes the current, that flows with such clarity, such calmness, such power, that even the chaos bends to meet it. That kind of energy doesn't ask for anything, it allows. It commands through coherence. It transforms reality by being the example, not by trying to prove anything. And the beauty is, the more you live this way, the more natural it becomes. It's no longer a technique. It's no longer a method you have to think about. It's simply who you are. It's your default signal. And from that place, you don't just manifest things, you create realities. You shift the world around you without even speaking. Because your presence does the speaking. Your presence does the inviting. And it invites a new world. A world where you no longer betray yourself to feel accepted. A world where your truth is your compass, not your burden. A world where you trust the intelligence of your vibration more than the noise of your fears. That's the world you're creating now, not through resistance, but through resonance. And the more you align with that, the more the field shows you what's possible. It shows you how quickly timelines can collapse, how easily healing can occur, how effortlessly joy can return when you stop bracing for pain. This is the new blueprint, not just for you but for the collective, because when you shift your signal, you don't just change your life, you influence the field around you. You become a tuning fork for others. You ripple coherence into the environment. You become the evidence that something else is possible. And that ripple keeps going. It reaches people you'll never meet. It opens doors for those who have forgotten they were worthy of more. It reminds the world that miracles are not rare, they're natural. They're the result of frequency, not favor. And anyone can access them, anyone, including you. So breathe that in, feel it, let it sink into every cell of your being. You don't have to force what's already yours, you just have to allow it. You just have to remember what it feels like to live from your center, not your story. From your alignment, not your effort. From your soul, not your wounds. And as you do, reality bends. The quantum field listens. And your life becomes a reflection of the truth you've finally chosen to embody. Not because it's trending, not because it's easy, but because it's who you are. You are the signal. You are the command. You are the living proof that energy creates everything. And the moment you choose to broadcast your truth without fear, without doubt, without delay. The field will move mountains to meet you. And it all begins right now, in this breath, in this vibration, in this choice. So what will you choose to become? Because the field is listening. And it's ready.